Heyo, you're tuning into Toasted Time, where I cook your time with some Reddit stories. Right now, we've got AskReddit, where we are asked, when did you not just dodge a bullet, but evade a full-on ballistic missile? Our first question comes from How to Backflip. I was traveling in Australia and stayed with a dude for a week or two. But at first, he seemed like the coolest guy, but then I quickly realized he was a terrible alcoholic and a drug dealer that had recently been in prison. One night, while I was out, he apparently got completely hammered and was causing a scene at the apartment complex, so the police were called. I showed up and see cop cars everywhere. I had enough, and I just booked a flight for the next morning to see another city. I woke up in the morning and quickly threw my clothes in my bag, was about to leave without even saying goodbye, but I thought that was pretty rude, so I grabbed a pen, started writing a little thank you note to the guy for letting me stay, and while writing the note, he wakes up and comes into the common room. I do the whole, oh shoot, sorry, I didn't want to wake you, but I found a cheap flight and I'm leaving right now. And he responds, can I see your bag quickly before you leave? I think I left something in there. This dude friggin' took his stash and put it in my bag when the police showed up the night before. I just didn't notice it because I was in a rush to get packed and leave. I was literally about to go board an airplane and I would have sat there like a moron with the exact same excuse everyone else is saying. It's not mine. I would have been locked up abroad if I didn't decide to write that goodbye note. Holy crap. Yeah, holy crap is right. You would have been having a big ol' oof of a day if you didn't decide to write that goodbye note. Alright, continuing on. When I moved back to New Orleans in 2004, I looked at two different apartments, A and B. I ended up choosing B because it was a little bit larger, but I lived there for 5 weeks and the neighbors were horrendous and management wouldn't do anything about it. So I went back to the other place to see if apartment A was still available. It wasn't, but they had another one downstairs in the building next door, so I ended up moving again into apartment C. Apartment B flooded several feet in Katrina, apartment A had the roof ripped off, and apartment C, where I lived for a year, was completely fine. I cannot overstress how difficult my life would have been if my apartment had been damaged. Not even taking into account my belongings, it was damn near impossible to find anywhere to live for years after Katrina. It's not an exaggeration to say that if my apartment had been damaged, the entire trajectory of my life probably would have changed. Is it strange looking back at your life and realizing that you were the third pig in the Three Little Pigs story? Man, what an incredible take on that story. You know, it's just the Three Little Pigs story in that whole entire thing. Perfectly summed up and beautiful. Anywho, continuing on. And we've got a long post from Far Opportunity, so buckle up. It's not really that large, but it is something that is quite interesting. But to dive in, I had some chest pain one night and woke up my wife to tell her. She got a little scared that it might be a heart attack and we agreed that I should go to the ER. The nurses were pretty sure it was a false alarm but would run a EKG as it is common practice. In my head, I was hoping that the chest pain would come back, not to prove a heart attack, but so that we could find out what the chest pain was. The EKG was done by one veteran nurse and a new nurse. I was watching over their shoulder and something was flashing on the screen that made both nurses look at each other with disbelief. They ran it again, and one nurse went out to the station for help. The other stayed with me and very nicely told my wife and daughter to go back out to the waiting room. A few seconds later, 5 to 6 more people came into the room slowly and calmly and began prepping me for something. And it turns out that I was having my second heart attack that night in the ER. The doctors and nurses found an obstruction in my heart and were prepping me to have it cleared and stent placed. When I got out of surgery, the doctor who placed a stent told me, you probably picked the best time and place to have a heart attack, right here in the ER. Then we get another story down below. My dad dodged a similar nuke. He had what they call a widowmaker's heart attack, which, as the name implies, is pretty serious. He would have probably passed away, but luckily he was at a firefighters and paramedics event when he had it. my dentist, a great guy, walked into the emergency room at our city's most high-tech hospital because his teenage daughter had been injured in some minor accident and he was there to pick her up. He looked around and then suddenly dropped from a heart attack. But he was in the absolutely perfect place for it. And they had him on a gurney and resuscitated him and did surgery, and he is totally fine now, like 8 years later. I was like, wow, Bob, you picked the absolutely perfect place to drop. And he's like, yeah, but I still have to pay the mortgage. Oof, ain't that an unfortunate wake-up call? Hey, you're saved, but your house, you gotta pay for it. But, look up to the bright side of it. You at least get to still be there for your daughter. So, good ending in my opinion. Anywho, continuing on. Now, before we continue on, I just want to ask that if you are enjoying this so far, that you consider recommending this channel to friends and family or just people you know, cause the help for this channel is greatly appreciated. So, to continue on, and for the final question from the real greedy goat. Alrighty, so I'm gonna tell you guys real quick before I get into the answers to this question. I'm gonna let you know that the story, the further this video goes on, the worse and worse the stories get. So, buckle up because we are getting into really f***ed up shit. Anywho, fortunately, he was also stupid. Danny, the dispatcher at my former taxi job, he thrived on conflict and loved creating hardship for both drivers and customers alike. I watched him deliberately send a taxi late because the woman emphasized how she couldn't be later for a doctor's appointment. He hung up and sort of chuckled and said, well, she's definitely gonna be late now. And he shorted me work and joked that he just wanted to see how long it would take me to go to jail for being behind on child support payments. As he was passing away of cancer, I was tempted to send his cancer a get-well card for having Danny. That cancer is sacrificing its life to take Danny out of the world. No greater love. Maybe the real cancers are the Dannys we met along the way. My name is Danny, and I was born in July. I'm a Cancer. Finding this particular thread seems weird. Fortunately though, I am not a human turd. Alright, and for the next post is where the road gets really bumpy. My best friend's dad. He would beat all three of the boys and their mom. He would get wasted on crackers and alcohol and trespass on random people's yards and destroy their property and steal their motor vehicles, crash them and ditch the scene. Once we all hit a certain age, the boys would ask me to hang out pretty often. Not only because we had a good time, but I've always been a lot larger than their dad, and he almost always never puts his hand on them. I could see a bit of fear in their eyes any time I left to go back home. This man is the perfect embodiment of evil on earth. He is beaten, passing away in severe car wrecks, alcohol poisoning, overdoses, and cancer on multiple occasions. And after decades of his lifestyle, he still roams the local city as a bum, getting wasted and destroying property. And it seemed to have negatively influenced the two younger brothers because they are slowly becoming their father. And they haven't had their sweet, caring mother to turn to because she passed away 12 years ago. Sad man. Hope the boys figure it out. Friend of mine recently had the realization that he was becoming his father. It was the epiphany he needed to start turning things around, and maybe they need the same. Crap's rough. How does one do that? My father is verbally abusive, and several years ago I started screaming back at him to try and protect myself, but I feel like I'm starting to lose control of it. I'm too scared to just not do it because I still live with him and will be for at least 2 years. I can't let my guard down until I move out, but I don't want to end up becoming an abusive partner if I ever get into a relationship. Well, it is good that you're realizing this path before it's too far. Give yourself a pat on the back for that. Most people don't. From here, get yourself into therapy, and also I'd recommend trying to find a hobby you can get deep into. It genuinely works wonders for managing anger or trauma. Getting into making ambient synth music really helped me manage my anger issues passed down from my family. Good luck, friend. And yeah, no, I couldn't agree anymore. That is some sound advice from Synths Are Great. Very nice. Anywho, my former neighbor, who as an adult went to jail for having his way with a 12-year-old cousin. My best friend from when I was a child, who I was very close with until high school graduation, is in prison for 20 years for live streaming him actually assaulting a 5-year-old boy. He called me from jail after a few months of silence to let me know he'd been arrested, and then didn't tell me what the charges were until I went to his sentencing. He'd been arrested and the camera he'd filmed it on was possessed at his job at a summer camp for kids. I feel like the 23 years he got weren't enough. 23 years? Fridge this guy. He should be there for life. Streaming. Like, what more proof do you need? Oh, man. He's actually assaulting a 5-year-old boy, and he works at a summer camp for kids? Oh, that's unfortunate. I feel bad for them children. Continuing on, though. And now comes for the, story that I am the most disgusted at. I met a girl who sent her 2 twin babies on a vacation with a sledgehammer. Evilest crap I have ever heard in my life. What the fridge? That is scary as hell. I was locked up with that sick excuse of a human being. Imagine having to spend 24 hours a day with someone like that. You were in jail together? County. Oh my god. Oh my god. Could you... Oh man. I hate the mental image I'm having right now. Could you... I would almost... I hope that the girl sent the twins on a vacation at the same swing, 'cause oh my god, I can't be thinking this. Okay, continue. We're going. There's another post below this. Oh man. I came here to say my sister is the most evil person I have ever met. But this is worse. Still, my sister and that woman would have probably been buds. My sister smashed a wooden chair over her son's head when he was barely 2 years old. The dad caught it on video, along with many other instances of physical abuse, abandonment, and neglect. And sis lost custody. Thankfully. Unfortunately, her son, who is now about 5, has some severe developmental delays. Still can hardly talk and struggles with basic coordination and motor skills. And in his case, we all know why it happened. We're just happy he's safer now, because there was a very big fear that she would escalate the violence after the chair incident. Some people really have no business ever being parents. And then we have someone who goes by Praetorian Panda who is asking the real question, did she not go to jail? Unfortunately, she did not. She got 3 years of probation, lost custody, and was ordered to have no contact with her son for those 3 years, and was put on National Child Abuse and Neglect Registry, but that was it. She was ordered by the courts to undergo therapy, and the therapist diagnosed her with narcissistic personality disorder on top of BPD. But as soon as that happened, sis stopped going and faced 0 consequences. According to her ex, she's been pulled in for 2 probation violations since. For failing to submit DNA and driving a car with a suspended license, plus stolen plates and no active registration or insurance on it. And we are all stunned she hasn't faced jail time. She supposedly even brags that in a few years she'll be able to get it off her record, so it won't even matter in the grand scheme of things. Oh, and the kicker, my sister tried to claim that the chair incident never happened. Then, when she was shown the video proof of it and told that the court and child services had seen the video too, she pivoted and claimed yes, it did happen, but it was because she was provoked by her ex and it was an accident. The video shows the toddler was the only other person in the room with her, and he was crying because he was upset about something. Her response was to beat him with the chair until it broke, and then walked away as the child laid on the ground crying harder. Utter POS. Oh my goodness, just kept on beating him with the chair until it broke. Holy cow, that old cat has a perfect response with, some people have no business claiming the title human being. And I could not agree more. That is so fridged up. Holy, oh my god. Okay, alright, y'all, I'm gonna be completely honest. I can't continue with this. I had another story I wanted to read, but nah, I'm done. That is, oh my goodness, that was too much for my brain to take. Oh my goodness, that is, oh my, I'm going back to that sledgehammer story. Holy cow. Could you imagine being the other child and watching your sister or brother getting utterly obliterated Oh my god, that is a horrific thought. Oh, I hate that. Okay, alright, well, I'm gonna end it off here. Alright, anyways, well, that is about it for those stories today. But if you enjoyed, please like and subscribe to become a fellow bread bag. But aside from that, I post 2 new videos every day, so I hope to see you next time toasting session. But until then, have a good one.